children. And I have firsthand knowledge of this. Anybody that listens to the show, you know that. And I realized that my absence, regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstances, right, my absence from my two sons had an impact on how their lives turned out. Period, point blank. I committed crimes, came to prison, but a lot of times the absence of the father, that's on the streets right now, is really sad because there's no reason, no justification for a father that is on the streets not to be involved in their child's life, especially if they understand how important it is. But a lot of people get so wrapped up in their own issues and the issues that they may have with the mother and all this and that they forget that a child is involved in this, that a child is going to be affected by whatever decisions that he makes, and she makes too. But I'm not trying to put this all on men, but this story is about the father, right? This is his brother named Max Spook that pushed up on me years ago when I was back in rotation, right? And I just had a conversation with somebody the other day, and they was talking about Max Spook, and it made me think about this story, and I thought about, sharing it, right? And I said, let me go on and do that, right? I tried to reach out to Max Spook, to let him know that I was going to do it, but I wasn't able to get in touch with him. So Max Spook, when you hear this, I present this story out of love, bro, because I want people to understand, what it is that happened to you and all of the different things that you went through. And I know when you told me this story, you probably never thought that, this story could be used to help some people get through their situations, right? And I just hope that you understand that this is a powerful story and it deserves to be told. You feel me? So reach out and hit me up, bro. Let me know, what you think about the story. I know that you've always been the type of brother that wanted to help, other people. So here's an opportunity for that to happen. Even though when you told me the story, it wasn't planned that way. I had no idea that I would be doing what I'm doing today and be in a position to share this story. But here we go, right? Now, Max Spook, when he first came into the penitentiary, he was like 24, 25 years old when we got to meet each other at the prison that we were at, right? And he would tell me all the different things that he went through in his life, when he was younger, how his father, man, never really was there at all, and how his father was hard on him, mistreated him, never really able to please his father in anything that he did. His father, was an electrician by trade, but he was a petty dope boy also on the side, trying to make ends meet, like a lot of people do, things, don't balance out sometimes, so you pick up that pack and you try to make things work, right? And the fact that Max Spook's dad had picked up that pack, he was watching him, he started to gravitate towards that aspect of it because his father was spending more time hustling those packs versus showing up to work, and it resulted in him losing his job. But by then, he's a full-fledged dope boy. All his time is committed to the streets, and the relationship between Max Spook's mama and dad has started to get, troublesome, right? And the father, he just decided one day, I don't have to put up with this. And that's really the tragedy, one of the tragedies in any type of relationship. The men are usually the ones that say, you know what, I ain't got to deal with this, I'm out. And leave the mother, with the bag. You feel what I'm saying? Having to raise the child and all this and that on her own, right? And then we always want to criticize and say that a woman can't raise a man, but we don't want to stick around to do the raising ourselves. And then we get upset because another man comes into play, right? Because that's what happened with Max Spook. Max Spook mama, after about a year and a half, she found her another dude, right? And he was good to Max Spook. Good to him. But see, Max Spook, like any other child, wanted the attention of his daddy. So instead of him doing all the right things in school and getting good grades and all this and that, he did what his daddy did. He picked up that pack and he started hustling, but he really wasn't a good hustler. Wasn't good at it at all. He was better at stealing, if it is such a thing. You understand what I'm saying? Now, don't hear what I'm not saying because I'm not condoning any behavior, but when he sold dope, he didn't know how to balance the money, keep the money right, this, that, and the third. But when he met his partner, one of his partners turned him on to being a stick-up kid, right? And they were making lick after lick after lick and getting all this type of attention, you know what I'm saying? So keep in mind, he's a teenager, right? So when his mama and his new stepdad find out, because she got married, when they find out what he was doing, they came down hard on him. He's 16. I'm talking about they came down so hard on him. His stepdad threatened and told him, look here, we're going to turn you into the police, let you go and go to juvenile. They were just doing that to shake him up. So when he told his daddy what was going on, right, he left out some details. He left out the details about him out there mistreating, you know what I'm saying, and stealing and knowing all this stuff in the streets. And he just made it seem as though his stepdad and his mom were going to put him in juvenile because he was being, like, misbehaving. So his daddy gets mad at the dude and his ex and tell him, look, y'all ain't going to do nothing to my kid. But he didn't want to take custody of him. He didn't want to take custody of him. He just wanted to be upset about something that he was partly to blame. But he didn't want to see it that way. So check this out. So Mac Spook went to stay with him. Mac Spook went to stay with him for a little while. And while Mac Spook is staying with his pops, they get into it. Because his dad is telling him basically the same thing that his mom and his stepdad were telling him. You got to go to school. You got to do this. You got to do that. But Mac Spook didn't want to do that because he knew that his dad ain't paying attention to none of that. He wanted his daddy's attention. So he told his mom, I want to go back home. I don't want to be here. So being the mom that she was, she came and she picked him up and they went back to the house. When they got back to the house, they had some rules and all this and that. He said he was going to abide by because he was hurt. He was hurt because he had felt rejected by his pops. So he said, I'll do whatever I got to do, you know what I'm saying? I know you love me, Mom, and all this and that, right? So for a while it worked. And then he started smoking. He started smoking, not weed, y'all. He started smoking that crack. And she noticed the changes in his behavior, you know what I'm saying, how he was acting and all this and that. And in school, he wasn't acting right. So she pulled him to the side, and guess what he told her? He told her that he had been molested. Now, this is important. I want y'all to follow me in this story. He told his mom that he had been molested years ago when he was a child. So when he asked his mom, when his mom said by who, he was reluctant to tell her. He didn't want to tell her. And she asked him, was it a family member? Because the majority of those situations happen by a family member, whether y'all want to believe it or not. And that's what the numbers show. So when he confirmed to his mom that it was a family member, not without telling her, you know what I'm saying, who it was, he confirmed to her that it was a female. So now he's throwed all the way off. And that resonated with me because, you know, I had been in contact with my son, Boo, right? And y'all know that Boo, you know what I'm saying, went through a situation like that, you know what I mean, and all that. And so that got my attention, right? It got my attention. And because when you're taking advantage of a child, I'm talking about a little child, you know, because at this time, Max Spook was way younger than what he was. He was 16 at the time he told his mom. So he, you know what I'm saying, he was in the single digits, right, when this action went down with the female relative. And it messed his head up, he says, right? Listen to me. Now, it's a difference between my son, Boo, and Max Spook's story, and you're going to catch that in a few minutes. So just pay close attention to what I'm saying, right? I just wanted to lay the foundation, right? So here's the thing. His mom kept pushing, trying to find out who this is. She wants a name because, you know, her mother bear instincts are kicking in. She want to protect her child because if something like that happened back then, it's a potential that it could happen again. That's what she was saying. So she wanted him to tell her who it was. The whole time he's still longing for his daddy's attention. He's got to have it, right? But let me show you something. He's slick. Listen to me. I want you to follow what I'm trying to say here. He's slick angry with his mother, right? Because in his juvenile mind, he cannot rationalize that his daddy don't love him, don't want nothing to do with him. He can't rationalize that, so he has to find a way to release all of that anger and hate onto somebody, right? So he releases it on his mom. Now, listen to me. The way he released all that anger and hate on his mom was through the story that he told her about the molestation. See, the actual molestation didn't take place. It didn't happen. It didn't happen. Because once he told his mom certain things, right, the picture was coming together, but it was only certain people that this could have possibly happened with. So his mom started to name names, and when she was naming names of different family members, the female family members that would even have been around him at that particular age, it was always yes, no. So he noticed one of the family members was a close friend to his mama. You know what I'm saying? They were real close. They were more than family. They was like sisters. And when he saw the reaction that his mother had when she named her name, he just said, yeah, it was her. Because he saw that it really concerned his mother. It made his mother feel bad, and he wanted her to feel bad. Follow what I'm saying? He wanted her to feel bad because in his mind, his whole situation, his whole life is messed up because of his mother. He don't want to accept, listen to me, he don't want to accept that his father is a piece of work. So he's putting it off on somebody that's convenient. He's made up a lie. He's made up a lie. And he put it off on his mom because this person that he saw his mom react to when she mentioned the name to him, he knew that this would hurt her. So he said, yeah, it was her. And his mom spun out of control trying to figure how, when, where, what happened. So he made up this elaborate tale of how she waited until his mom was in the shower or they were alone some kind of way. And his mom was struggling, trying to figure, like, there was no time that they were ever alone in that, for that amount of time for anything to happen. Now, we know that anything can happen, and, you know, it just takes that long, right? It just takes that long, a touch or anything else, you know what I'm saying? And then she said, describe what happened. Because she wanted details, because now she's trying to make it make sense, because she's getting angry, but at the same time, she's like, this can't be true. Now, let me keep in mind, let me tell y'all something. Look, a lot of situations like this do happen. And a lot of family members want to deny that it happened. But Mac Spook's mama she wasn't trying to deny that it happened. She was trying to figure out when and where, because she had all intentions of going to the police. She was not going to not be there for her son. Because to her, if this is true, this is contributing to his delinquency. This is contributing to his drug use. This is contributing to why he's spinning out of control. In addition to what's going on with his father. She's starting to see how something like this could come together. So she called and talked to some professionals about this. And they were like, if this happened, yes, this can be partly the blame as to why he's acting the way he's acting. But his details never matched up. He never could make it make sense to the extent that it needed to. That's what I'm saying, right? So she continued to question him. So Mac Spook got older, and he's spinning out of control. He turned 17, and now he's a year away from graduating high school, and he's hardly showing up to school, but his grades are holding on because he's a very intelligent young man. Very intelligent. And his grades are barely holding on and all this, but he's got to be there at school. He's delinquent. He's not showing up. He's getting his work done, but he's not there 2 or 3 days out of the week. You feel what I'm saying? He's making it harder than it has to be for himself, but he's still passing. But the teachers want him there. He got to be there. They can't graduate somebody that's barely coming to school. You know what I'm saying? It's a bad example that is being set for everybody else at the school. So now he starts to rob. Now, start robbing. And now his dad is trying to get all the way in it, right? And him and his dad had a big falling out. Because his daddy was like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing all of these different things? So he tells his daddy, in this ditch effort to get his daddy's attention, his love and his affection, he tells his daddy, he said, look, I was molested. And his daddy goes off. By who? And he tells his daddy without hesitation. His daddy calls his mom going off. You let this happen to him. This is your fault. Blah, blah, blah. All of these different types of things. And it made her feel like she wasn't nobody. It made her feel like she was a failure as a mother. It made her feel like she was a failure as a parent. And Mac Spook, he saw how this made his daddy draw closer to him. So he stuck to the story. He stuck to the story all the way to the extent to where they were about to charge this family member. And as they looked into it, these are professional people. As they look into it, they kept digging and digging and digging and trying to find any evidence of this and that and that and this. And they could find none, even the dates that they gave and all this and that. They ran it down and they said the likelihood of this happening was very, very small. So even the detectives started to question what was going on with him. And they said, look, they had seen this before. Now, this surprised me when the story came to me like this. They had seen situations like this where somebody's hurting so bad that they'll create a story that will be so horrendous, so tragic, that you couldn't help but have to be sympathetic toward it. You want to come to their aid. You want to be there for them. And even if the evidence ain't matching up, you are reluctant to say, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Now, don't get me wrong. Listen to me now. If somebody comes forward and they make this allegation that somebody's doing something to them, listen to them, y'all. Don't walk away. Don't walk away, because predators prey on that too. They depend on, they need you to doubt what's being said, right? But you got to pay attention when people say this. So don't walk away from a loved one that comes to you with this story, right? Because this story is unique and different. This story is unique and different. And right when they were about to charge her, Max Spook stood up. He stood up because the detectives, they wanted to talk to him one more time. And they got him off with permission of his mom and his dad. They get him off and they talk to him all alone with a professional. And they tell him, look, this is what's about to happen. We got your back. We're about to charge her. And when we charge her, she's going to prison. You're going to have to get up on the stand and tell everybody what happened and all this and that. And she's going to be found guilty. There's no doubt about it. The detectives were telling him that, this was very serious. And right in the middle of all of the discussion with the detectives, Max Spook broke down. He broke down. And now they had a counselor in there, a therapist in there, right? And she's sitting in there and she knows what's happening. He inside of him, this dilemma was taking place. It's like, what do I do? What do I do? Do I say what really happened, or do I stick to this? And Max Spook told me, he said, Joe T, when she put her hand on my hand, he said, man, I couldn't stop crying. He said, I couldn't stop crying. And she said, tell us what happened, and we're going to help you. Tell us what happened. And Max Spook said he broke down, man. He said he could barely breathe. You know how you had him cries this deep, like that? He was telling me that's how he was crying. And he said, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. Now, the therapist had suspicions, and the detectives did too. They had already told the parents, even the father, what they thought, but they wanted to be able to talk to him one more time, because they did not want him to believe that they didn't believe, because things happen in the oddest of ways when you're dealing with this particular type of charge. So when he broke down, of course they were recording the whole thing, and he's a juvenile. When he broke down, they told him that they understood and they were going to get him some help. But he told them that he was trying to get his father's attention. He needed to get his father's attention because he missed him and he loved him that much, and his father never was there for him and didn't want to do anything with him, didn't want to pay attention to him like he thought he should. And it crushed him to have a situation like that going on in his life. So he didn't know what else to do. Now, his mother, his relative, it destroyed them, because his mother was so emotionally committed to trying to find out the truth that she had alienated a lot of people in the family that kept saying that they were not sure. She took them saying they were not sure as they didn't believe her son. Even though she had doubts, she wanted him to know that she supported him. So a lot of the family members were picking sides, and they didn't pick her side, and that hurt her. And you're going to have to tune in to the next episode to get the rest of the story right, because it gets deeper. And I know it might be a little dark, but don't abandon this episode, y'all. listen to this episode, okay? Listen to the duration of it because it's important, all right? This has been another episode of Doing Time with Joe. I'm your host, Joe Baker, and I say peace, y'all.
I'm getting so